Chapter 41 Unbelievable Coincidence. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Arriving at the auditorium, Ryan held a shield in his left hand and a sword in his right hand, and walked in front of Kate on the left. Kate had a serious face and didn't say anything, but used her eyes to signal that it was time to start. Seeing that Ryan was unmoved, he picked up the gavel and rang the bronze bell that represented the start. Dang dang dang. The bronze bell rang. Snap! All the torches outside the auditorium went out. The entire castle suddenly turned into a dark and deep hunting ground, but it was unknown which side was the prey. Bats began to fly in the dark passage, and vampires might be hiding in it. Ryan and Kate chose the passage to the second floor. Ryan walked in front, waving his silver sword like an amateur from time to time, but the iron shield was always kept in the forward position. Chirp! 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 The bats kept making annoying noises. In addition, spider webs brushed across his face from time to time, and his silver pupils revealed impatience. In order to play this game, Ryan had changed his thinking mode at this time, and the Muggle detective Ryan appeared. According to this character setting, he should be careless and aggressive, attracting vampires to attack first, and this experience is also a fresh experience, bringing new nourishment to the magic of the heart. Unexpectedly, when he reached the corner of the second floor, Ryan still did not find any trace of vampires under normal vision. From another perspective, Salvatore heard the bell ringing and climbed out of the coffin leisurely. This is a room on the third floor. Salvatore's eyes were shining red, and several bats with the same red light opened their eyes at the same time. They were distributed in various corners of the castle. They were Salvatore's eyes. 2 people, 4 hands. It's impossible that I'm so unlucky that I got them all right. Salvatore was confident. How is it possible? The silver net. How could anyone choose the silver net? Normal people would not choose it. A bat hiding on the first floor saw a scene that surprised Salvatore. A short witch was hiding behind with a silver net. If it weren't for the many eyes, she would have almost not noticed it. As for the torch and silver sword, they are normal choices. Most travelers use them to light the way. Wizards who know that vampires can eat garlic will not choose garlic necklaces like muggles. Wearing this necklace that loses the wizard's demeanor, however, a terrible thing happened. The torch, garlic necklace, and silver net were put together. Even if I didn't let them appear as weapons at the same time in the novel, the ghost hunter Sir Kate might know, but it's not that coincidental. Fortunately, the deadly weapon is on a short witch. Humph, Salvatore Stefan is going to be serious. Salvatore thought to himself and pressed the knob next to the coffin. A secret passage appeared in the corner of the wall. Look at me raiding from the back, little wizards, your nightmare is coming. Point 1 step, 2 steps, 1 step, 2 steps, friction, friction, are the cautious steps of the vampire. Salvatore, who connected the perspective to the front of him and the corner of the second floor at the same time, wiped the cold sweat. Using 2 perspectives at the same time is already his limit. Fortunately, the little wizard in front looks easy to deal with. Damn pretty boy, why can't I be as handsome as myself in the book? Salvatore secretly complained, forgetting that he was successful in the application because of his ordinary appearance. Ha! A claw light flashed, and a pale and ordinary vampire with no sense of existence suddenly appeared from the corner. The attack was on Ryan's garlic necklace, but this extremely confident attack was blocked by the iron shield. Ryan tried his best to control the power, otherwise the counter shock alone would break the vampire's claws. Ryan did not continue to attack, and gave his position to Kate, who was waving torches and silver nets. Damn it! This pretty boy reacts so quickly, and each garlic has been slightly crushed. The smell is so disgusting. No, I have to persist. There is another little brat. How can he use the torch as a weapon and wave the silver net in his other hand? Salvatore was sore all over by the approaching fire and garlic smell. He wanted to turn into a bat, but was stopped by the silver net. At the critical moment, Salvatore found that fortunately, the originally tight space had a gap in the pretty boy. Accompanied by black smoke, the bats on the ceiling also came over and escaped from the gap that Ryan deliberately left. Kate did not chase, but showed a puzzled expression. Kate, there is still a morning. It would be meaningless to catch him like this. Ryan explained. That's right. Kate nodded slightly seriously. Danger, 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 how could this happen? Salvatore hid in the group of bats and trembled all over. According to the usual routine, Salvatore should chase tourists everywhere, along the secret passage, or directly turn into a bat to attack. In the end, he could only hide in a safe area and tremble in the auditorium, but today was completely different. Instead, he was almost caught. Most vampire hunters are half vampires. The other half of these vampires are muggles, and there are almost no wizards. They are good at using tools and hunting with muggle methods. Half vampires with wizard blood are impossible to be attacked by vampires because there are wizards in their families. Most of them are free love between wizards and vampires, which also leads to the fact that there is no existence among vampire hunters that is too strong to resist. At this time, Salvatore strongly suspected that the ancestors of these two little ghosts must have been vampire hunters, and they still maintained relevant training. It's really crazy. Since the establishment of the Department for the Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures, there have been almost no vampires and vampire hunters who attack humans after being protected and restricted by the Code of Treatment of Non-Wizarding Semi-Humans. How come there are still some now, and I just happened to encounter them? Salvatore complained in his heart. But these weapons are all magical, so it's just a little painful. The last time was a wizard who used to be a Quidditch beater. Come on, I want to be a vampire star. Salvatore mustered up his courage, not worrying about being complained by tourists for not having a good time. Although the money deducted is not much, I still have extra money. Salvatore, how can you think like this? You are not doing it for money. It's a dream. This is fate. The final battle between vampires and vampire hunters. Salvatore encouraged himself and turned into a human form again in a dark corner. Pressing the switch of the secret passage, Salvatore tiptoed and held his breath. At this time, the bat on Ryan's head lit up a red light that was not noticeable to the naked eye. The vampire Salvatore, who was observing everything carefully, was ready to do it again. Ryan, he won't not come out, will he? Kate was worried, and a look of desire appeared on her childish face. I just went through the hell of preparing for the exam and taking the exam, and I'm ready to do it again. Quiet, he's already here. Ryan pretended not to notice, with an innocent look on his face. Chapter 42: A Helpless Solution. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bats chirped in the dark corner. Ryan, is this vampire coming again? I feel like the interval is getting longer and longer. Kate asked with anticipation of a vampire attack. Vampires have emerged from all imaginable corners many times, but each time they were blocked by the confident Kate. Ryan only showed the power of an ordinary young wizard, but until now, the vampires have still found nothing. Kate noticed that this vampire always tried to drive her to certain locations. It was probably a trap, but Kate always avoided it one by one. Ryan even suspected that Kate had activated the full map trap. Even once, when the vampire transformation plan attacked Ryan, Kate even sneak attacked the vampire. It was a true sneak attack. Even Ryan didn't notice. This girl was really a born assassin. Finally, another 15 minutes passed, and when Kate was almost impatient, Ryan noticed the vampire reappearing, and Ryan began to dub the vampire's actions in a wicked way. A bolt of black lightning suddenly flashed out from the corner, and Ryan turned sideways to block the bat's sudden attack. Kate also pounced and used both hands to catch the little black thing. Ryan did not remind Kate that this was not a vampire, it was just a bat he controlled. It would not be fun if it was exposed. Sometimes it is better to be confused. Just as Kate grabbed the bat, accompanied by the black mist that could not be detected by the naked eye, a pale and ordinary-looking vampire emerged from behind, presumably preparing to grab the torch, silver net or garlic necklace. Such a cunning vampire, maybe God gave him a lower-than-average appearance and opened another window for him in terms of wisdom. You little brat. You are so ordinary. Why do you have to emphasize this point? Are you kidding me? The vampire stood there, as if he had given up resistance. Is this the annihilation of humanity or the loss of morality? Shut up. He looked like an ordinary vampire with a ferocious face, which made him look more handsome. Really? The vampire looked happy. By the way, can you read minds? How do you know what I'm thinking? Ryan looked innocent. You obviously said it. Salvatore said excitedly. Yes, Ryan, you were talking to yourself just now, but it was quite interesting. Kate suppressed a smile. Dear guest, do you want to continue? Salvatore took a deep breath and showed a flattering smile for the sake of life and material. Of course I have to continue. I remember that besides you, there are many traps here. Ryan said. But you and this charming lady never ran away, and you didn't leave separately. Salvatore looked helpless. Ryan, she called me ma'am. She's also charming. It seems like this vampire is not useless after all. In addition to being ordinary, aren't vampires all very handsome? Kate danced and was so happy that she accidentally said what was in her heart. Come out, Salvatore, who claimed to be a vampire, pretended not to hear and did not want to be tortured again. A plan that he might never use in his career came to his mind. Mr. Lane, Miss Kate, behind this castle is the largest dragon farm in Romania and even the world. You can also observe the dragon ecology up close at the top of the castle. Everyone, how about I serve as a tour guide and lead you to appreciate the rare natural landscape behind this historic castle? Salvatore said with a smile on his face. In the next few hours, the well-dressed vampire, like a gentleman's butler, led Ryan and Kate to explore the traps and secret passages on the first floor one by one. Although they were boring in Ryan's opinion, in Kate's opinion these traps and secret passages formed by mechanical expansion are undoubtedly very authentic. Finally, it's lunch time, the soft music slowly came to mind, the torches were relit in the dark corridor, and the bats disappeared without a trace. For some reason, it gave Ryan the feeling of having lunch in the cafeteria in high school in his previous life. It has to be said that there are so many secret passages. Although none of them are used, I can only walk around the first floor alone. This castle has 5 floors. The top floor, the 5th floor, is the rooftop, where you can see the natural habitat of the Romanian longhorn dragon. If you are lucky, you may even see a dragon. As for why he was lucky, it can only be said that for safety, the castle itself cast a variant of the Muggle repelling curse, the dragon repelling curse. This kind of spell is surprisingly common in Muggle society. Otherwise, why would no Muggle have ever seen a dragon in the city? This also shows the closeness between Muggle and Wizard society. Even the castle of the Malfoys, the so-called purebloods who hate Muggles, is right next to the Muggle driveway. Kate's nose trembled slightly, presumably because she smelled the aroma of lunch. Yes, after the fierce chase, she was probably hungry too. When we came to the auditorium, my dear, what a sumptuous lunch, cabbage rolls, sausages the size of an adult's finger, meatball sour soup, and even saw beef stew with potatoes, roasted pork knuckles, and the indispensable cornmeal. Mr. Lane, Miss Kate, let me introduce the dishes to you next. Vampire Salvatore bent down. This is a dessert called popinache, a donut covered with jam and yogurt. Salvatore pointed at a pink object that Ryan didn't notice, or should say was not interested in. Ryan seemed to have no appetite and just complained a little bit about why there was no rice. Doesn't potato and beef brisket go best with rice? As expected, Kate likes this dessert very much. This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. The staple food is cornmeal. Ryan learned that it is called mamaliga after being introduced, and it should be mixed with sour cheese and cream. My God, what a devilish dish. Fortunately there is bread. Ryan was thankful. As for the meatball sour soup, fresh lemon juice was added to it. It was not Ryan's favorite sour soup flavor, but it was unexpectedly delicious. Salvatore even took out a spice called lavender grass and said that this was the secret of its deliciousness. Next, Salvatore introduced the local way of eating these dishes. The meat filling is a cabbage roll mixed with pork and beef, which should be eaten with corn porridge, that is, mamaliga, and mamaliga. The minced meat sausage is served with bread and mustard, and there is lard on the side. Yes, you heard it right, lard. Ryan felt like he was in China again, if Salvatore hadn't introduced its unique way of eating it, with raw onions, bread and plum brandy. It's not salt and pepper, which is unbelievable. Every dish has a strong taste. I guess the chef is the reincarnation of the Salt King, but it's acceptable. The taste is still well seasoned. As for the pork elbow, I'll take a piece of skin first. It's not soft enough. It tastes like roasted pork skin. I don't like it. And Salvatore proudly mentioned that he had prepared this program to introduce the dishes for a long time, but no customer has given him this opportunity. There is a slight fear spell solidified on your clothes. Don't you know it yourself? Ryan complained while holding the cabbage roll. If it weren't for him being here, the peaceful magic of the Phoenix dispelled this. Ordinary wizards probably couldn't eat their meals. After feasting, Ryan and Kate began to visit the second floor of Salvatore again, hoping it would be more interesting. Chapter 43 Harry Potter in Silence. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I don't know if anyone has ever raised a fox. Students who have raised foxes probably know that the biggest problem with foxes is not only their lack of family, but also their love of digging holes. The second floor and even the third floor were like this, with dense caves and secret passages dotting these two floors. Ryan finally saw some magic, which was the unnatural part in Kate's words. If there was no magic, the castle with so many secret passages would have collapsed long ago after such transformation. This is not consistent with architecture. Almost everywhere, there are trigger-type expansion machines that look like muggles. The bats and spiders hide here during non-game time, and they are surprisingly odorless. They must have cast magic. If it is an ordinary wizard who has lost his wand and accidentally falls into a secret passage or trap, there may be some players. I couldn't run out for a day. It was indeed a terrifying journey. Kate was very excited and ran through all the secret passages connecting the second and third floors. Although her body was still full of energy, Ryan's mind couldn't help but feel a little tired, especially magic. I haven't used magic for nearly a morning, and I have a strange depressing feeling. Out of boredom, Ryan began to think wildly again. The magic power has the nature of constant recovery. It is close to infinity and is even called Ouroboros by Smith's alchemy wall. In fact, he has never noticed that Ryan can feel the accumulation of magic power far more than the average wizard. Accumulation. Neuron. Obscurus is the product of a young wizard who excessively suppresses his magical power due to external reasons. A young wizard who is possessed by magic accumulation is also called an obscurus. Maybe it's because most people who don't use magic power are worried that they are alien, or their family and friends reject unscientific phenomena, so they actively or passively avoid the use of magic power. In addition, magic power itself is a product of the soul, and the accumulation of negative emotions is silent. It is a dark force with the ability to parasitize and encroach. This energy is deliberately presented as a single entity, capable of sudden and devastating bursts. Parasitized little wizards usually do not live past the age of 10. The obscurus is sometimes not visible, and sometimes appears as a black invisible entity or a black oily substance, flying or wreaking havoc in the air like a fluid or cloud, sometimes with red core. Described by some as a gust of black wind in a black mass with gleaming white eyes, the obscurus sometimes takes on the face of an obscurus. The ability of the Death Eaters in the movie to turn into black smoke and fly is probably also derived from this setting. However, in this world, the only ones known to have this ability are Voldemort and Snape when Harry was in 7th grade. Simple technique. This kind of power exerted by oppression can be regarded as another way to break away from the wizard's thoughts. The obscurus and the obscurus themselves are two sides of the same coin. The obscurus can even be said to be another magical creature. The size and power of the obscurus depend on the inner strength of its host. The more powerful the obscurus magic is, the more powerful their obscurus becomes. The size and power of the obscurus are also related to the degree of negative emotions and mental state of its host at the time. In this case, the obscurus is extremely destructive to its surroundings, able to levitate or break objects without touching them. Obscurus will slowly calm down and gradually return to its original state because of meeting someone trustworthy. Emotional changes can cause the obscurus and the obscurus to shift back and forth. When the obscurus dies, the obscurus usually disappears with it. No. Newt Scamander once separated the obscurus after Credence Barebone's death and kept it in the magic energy field. Ryan suddenly thought of this. What about Harry Potter? How could Dumbledore not understand obscurus? Harry's growth has always been in Dumbledore's eyes. Ryan suddenly realized. Ryan let go of his brain, and part of his thinking turned into the ordinary little wizard Ryan, an adventurer. He played with Kate in the castle, and his deeper thinking began to think in conjunction with the original work. Harry's aunt and uncle are the kind of people who hate magic. They don't have no feelings for Harry, but they want to drive the magic out of Harry through all kinds of cold violence. When Harry received the letter, Harry's uncle Vernon, for the first time, strongly demonstrated this determination to keep Harry away from magic. He refused to accept the letter, even though the mailbox exploded and the whole house was surrounded by owls, which seemed abnormal. They even found an isolated island and went to it during a thunderstorm, and even killed Dudley because of it. You must know that Dudley is the little bully in the family. The Vernons have always held it in their hands and did not dare to show any dissatisfaction. But even under 11 years of constant oppression, the obscurus was not born, and Harry did not become the obscurial. This may be due to the power of Harry's mother Lily Evans' love spell, which prevented the negative obscurus from taking shape. However, the accumulated magic power will not disappear out of thin air. It is estimated that it has greatly improved Harry's magical potential, resulting in many subsequent. Although his magic skills were far inferior to those of Voldemort, he was not at a disadvantage, and Newt is Dumbledore's favorite disciple, the existence that makes Grindelwald jealous. Why won't the preserved obscurus be studied by Dumbledore? You must know that the host of this obscurus is himself suspected to be Dumbledore. Blood related to Credence Barebone, and Harry's neighbor, Mrs. Fig, is herself a squib and Dumbledore's spy. It turns out that Dumbledore did not fail to give Harry power. This kind of training that can normally cultivate silent tempering not only brings great improvement in mind, but also in potential. Harry's ability to summon a physical Patronus in the 3rd year is a clear proof. It was only after I traveled through time that I found that Dumbledore, was translated as Bumblebee in ancient English, plus he loved sweets. This old bee, a bad old man. The more Ryan knows about it, the more he finds that Dumbledore is shrewd and calculating. How can Voldemort, who has lost his mind, not be defeated? In terms of strength alone, Voldemort is actually not as good as Dumbledore, but Voldemort has a higher tolerance rate, and he cannot be killed with a Horcrux. If Dumbledore was younger, or had made a Horcrux, there would be no place for Voldemort. Or in the case of so many damned people in Azkaban, making Horcruxes was Dumbledore's last resort when he saw no hope of victory. Voldemort is like a mouse on a sticky board. As long as Dumbledore puts aside his moral integrity, even if he doesn't know the location of Voldemort's Horcrux, it is estimated that within a year after Voldemort's resurrection in Harry's 4th grade, he can beat Voldemort to a state worse than a ghost. In the original book, Dumbledore died bravely, which is very likely because he no longer saw the hope of Voldemort's victory. The greatest white wizard is far from being that simple. Chapter 44 Neville, the boy who survived many disasters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After shaking his mind, Ryan resumed his original thinking mode without anyone noticing. Although Ryan was thinking about other things before, he was still browsing the castle with Kate at the same time. The switching of memory and thinking mode did not have any effect or difference. At this time, Ryan and his party came to the 4th floor, which seemed to have entered another world. The entire floor could be said to have solidified the traceless stretching spell, and the style was very inconsistent with the entire castle. If it goes according to the plan, it should be a place that tourists will come into contact with the next day. The designer probably knows the Muggle world very well. The entire floor is full of various seemingly natural climbable rock walls. At first glance, they are all towering rock walls, the highest of which is about hundreds of meters high. Only through the rock wall can you reach the 5th floor. Unlike Muggles, there is no protection rope, but the ground is the best and unreplicable protection rope. You can climb boldly and safely. Even if you fall, you will not be injured because the protection spell is cast on the ground. Mr. Ryan, Miss Kate, if you are in a hurry to go to the 5th floor, there is a 2-meter-high rock wall on our left, in the corner, and the foothold is also very simple. Salvatore introduced immediately. Kate did not have any special expectations for watching dragons, but she liked this 4th floor, which was supposed to be unauthentic. Salvatore saw that Kate was very interested in this place, and clapped his hands. A bar appeared out of thin air on the ground in the middle, filled with all kinds of drinks. Except for tea and water, other things were charged extra. Both gold galleons and Muggle currency were accepted, and Ryan secretly rolled his eyes. At the same time, Salvatore also went to the 3rd floor and rested in his coffin, leaving Ryan and the others alone. When leaving, he emphasized again and reminded that if the currency was placed on the bar, the corresponding price of the drink would automatically glow. Just pick it up, and the change would be returned. Ryan doubted that this guy had a commission to take. Ryan had never been exposed to rock climbing in his previous life. Natural climbing is deadly, and artificial climbing costs money. Ryan, a student, had no chance or energy to play this game, but now the opportunity came. Without the light bulb, Ryan still only maintained the physical fitness of a normal human, which was more fun. Woohoo! Kate, who climbed up about 10 meters of the rock wall and then jumped down with a backflip, made a joyful sound. It seems that this floor is not just for rock climbing. Jumping from a high place seems to be a part of entertainment, but it seems understandable why the bar is built in the center, so as not to fall on it when jumping down. Monkey Kate was born. For an afternoon, the sound of woohoo kept rising and falling, 10 meters, 20 meters, and even the highest 100 meters. Kate kept climbing and jumping like a flexible monkey. Ryan couldn't help his curiosity and started rock climbing. On the steep rock wall, Ryan kept changing his body movements. He was challenging the 100-meter-high rock wall on the right. Looking down, Kate, who was tired and drinking water, was just a black dot in normal vision. Ryan, who climbed nearly 10 meters again, could no longer see the bottom. There were white clouds all around him, and his hands felt wet. Ryan felt a little bored. He had long gotten rid of gravity and didn't think these scenery was rare. Although this cloud layer was also made by magic, people couldn't stay there. Just like normal clouds, Ryan continued to climb up and finally reached the top. Above his head, a door slowly appeared from the air. Ryan pushed it up and it was the 5th and last floor. Ryan closed the wooden door, let go of his hands, and fell down in a lying position. Whoosh, whoosh, the sound of the wind sounded in his ears, passing through the clouds. For about 5 seconds, a strange feeling of falling into a quagmire came from his back, as if he had been lying on the ground from the beginning and jumped from a high altitude, as if it was just an illusion. If Neville jumped here, would he awaken his magic ability in advance and not be regarded as a dud by his family? This interesting idea suddenly appeared in Ryan's mind. His uncle Algy had done this many times, such as pushing Neville off the Black Lake Pier, almost drowning him. It was not until Neville was 8 years old that he was no longer regarded as a squib by his family. It would probably take a few more months. Now it is July, and Neville's birthday is July 30th, one day earlier than me and Harry. In fact, soon after Neville was born, he could use magic to wrap himself tighter with a blanket, but no one saw Neville's unusual magic display and talent in childhood, and the midwife only thought it was Neville's father. In addition, Neville's parents were tortured crazy by 4 Death Eaters with the Cruciatus curse. Neville grew up under the severe reprimands of his grandmother, Mrs. Longbottom. Since Neville was a child, she required this poor grandson to be proud of this crazy pair of parents, and must think that his parents sacrificed their health and reason, not to make their only son ashamed of them. Neville was more inferior than Harry, and his grandmother told him many times in person that he was a good boy, but not as talented as his father. Neville was also a boy who survived a disaster, but it was caused by the harm of his family. When Neville was 8 years old, his uncle Algy came to have tea, and he even hung Neville from the upstairs window with his ankles up. When Neville took a piece of meringue handed to him by Aunt Amy, he lost his grip and did not hold it firmly. Then Neville bounced up by himself, flew across the garden and fell on the road. It's really speechless. It can be seen that the so-called pure blood values magic. Although physical injuries are easy to treat for wizards, Quidditch, a crazy sport, also comes from this. However, after Neville was 8 years old, the persecution of his life also ended. Ryan sighed and walked to the bar. Kate's little face was still flushed with excitement. As a result, they started talking again with a cup of black tea. "Kate, when did you discover your magical talent?" Ryan asked curiously. "Well, it seems that I was 5 years old. I cut my father's beard in front of him, and he didn't notice it." Kate frowned and thought. "How do you know he didn't notice it?" I cut it in front of him. When he was eating, I cut it openly." Kate blushed and emphasized, "It seems that this is something Kate is proud of. She is really a natural assassin. In addition, she knows how to hunt vampires. It won't be a family that specializes in hunting vampires." "Kate, what did your ancestors do? Are they vampire hunters?" Ryan asked curiously. "What vampire hunter? Only half vampires can do that, although it's cool. Our family is wizards. Why do we have to do something? Wizards can live alone." Kate asked in confusion. Ryan couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. Wizards are different from muggles. They don't have to do anything to survive. Food, clothing, housing and transportation can all be done by magic. No wonder the Ministry of Magic has never had a sense of existence. A wizard family with a stable career is considered a great existence in the magic world, such as Ollivander. Time flies, and before I know it, it's time for dinner. Chapter 45, Raising Dragons for Fun and Profit. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Accompanied by the soft music, it was time for dinner. The music tonight was very atmospheric, with a tune composed of holy and ethereal female voices. Kate, sweating profusely, went to the bathroom in the lounge behind the auditorium on the first floor. Today's dinner was still the familiar potato stewed beef, with beef tripe soup, roasted stuffed pumpkin, and roasted lamb with corn paste. Kate finally met her match. The beef tripe soup was made of beef tripe, a lot of garlic and sour cream with hot peppers. It was so spicy that she couldn't help but drink several cups of black tea. As for the roasted stuffed pumpkin, it was similar to lotus root, a baking dish wrapped with beef or turkey, rice, onions, herbs and spices, and a thick layer of sour cream was spread on it. Roasted lamb with corn paste can only be said to be very salty, and it can be said to be kimchi made of lamb, under strong request. Ryan finally ate rice in the evening. In addition, Romanian cuisine itself is very suitable for the appetite of Oriental people. It is heavy, similar to Jianghu cuisine, and it is very good with rice. After a hearty meal, Ryan and Kate went to the lounge behind the auditorium. The lounge was decorated in the same way as the carriage, except that it was more spacious and luxurious. The bathroom was closer to the swimming pool and hot spring, and the bedroom was no longer a big coffin, but a normal double bed. After a simple wash, Ryan gave up meditation today, so as not to accidentally exude charm and lose his virginity. Here the next day, accompanied by Kate's breathing, the next day came unknowingly. The next day was a sunny day, because today's plan was to go to the 5th floor to enjoy the scenery, and at 6 o'clock tonight, the transportation to pick up Ryan and his friends would land on the roof of the castle, so the original version of the weather spell on the roof was temporarily cancelled. As a vampire, Salvatore was not convenient to see the light, so he sent Ryan and his friends upstairs on the 4th floor, and then returned to the 3rd floor to start a new creation. In the center of the castle's rooftop is a large parasol filled with food. Today's meals are all on the rooftop. The bathroom and lounge are located on the right side of the 5th floor. Dinner will be on the transportation that arrives in the evening. With a cup of black tea, Ryan and Kate sat on the lounge chairs under the parasol, feeling like they were at the seaside. The only difference is that the opposite is not the ocean, but a sea of trees, and from time to time, the deep roar of dragons can be heard from afar. There is also a panoramic telescope on the table, similar to the one sold in the 4th Quidditch World Cup, which can replay the picture and play it in slow motion. This sea of trees is not a dragon's habitat. After all, an adult Romanian longhorn dragon is 40 feet long, about 12 meters. The existence of the forest is an obstacle for them. The Romanian Ministry of Magic specially built a strange underground protection area under this sea of trees with magic, just like the Great Hollow Forest in the anime Bleach. However, not all dragons are underground. In the distance of the forest, there is a canyon, which is the exit of the underground protection area and the source of sunlight, in this canyon that cannot be observed by muggles, there are many cattle and sheep for dragons to hunt. After learning all this, Kate said speechlessly, "Are we here to observe the dragons that may come out of the canyon?" "No, after all, this service is not included in the service we purchased, it is free. And in this way, the vampire can also find an excuse to rest," Ryan said lightly. "Ah. This guy, I want to go down or forget it, just go to the 4th floor to play later." Kate stood up suddenly and sat down. Ryan took out a book called Raising Dragons for Fun and Profit from his pocket, which Hagrid called a bit outdated, and read it with Kate. "Kate, did you find anything after reading it?" Ryan asked. "Dragons are profitable?" Kate was startled by the sudden question. She hardly read books, but watched this kid all the time. "Well, it can't be said to be wrong. Kate, have you noticed that from this book, it can be seen that raising dragons was actually a very common thing before the 1709 Wizard Conference officially passed the bill prohibiting the raising of dragons?" Ryan reminded. "Yes, and dragon skins and dragon blood became expensive later." Kate suddenly thought. Yes, at that time, raising dragons was like raising cattle and sheep for wizards. Although wizards don't need money, some magical materials and props still need currency. Raising dragons has become a good way to make money. Moreover, dragons have a long lifespan. Occasionally taking a small piece of skin and blood will not cause any harm to the dragon. And Kate, have you noticed that wizards can't live without dragons? Ryan emphasized. Yes, dragons are used in potions, clothes, and wands. Kate jumped up and answered. The Ministry of Magic and some large dragon-raising groups would not allow powerful and useful creatures like dragons to be raised privately, even though private dragon-raising had already become a system and was no longer dangerous. Dragons are also powerful beings that guard homes. If every wizard has a dragon at home, how can the Ministry of Magic manage ordinary wizards? So, Ryan prompted. So raising dragons for fun and profit is outdated, and private dragon raising is not allowed. Kate followed Ryan's words and said. And, Kate, have you noticed that the International Statute of Wizarding Secrecy, also known as the International Statute of Secrecy, is a law signed by the wizarding world in 1689 and formally established in 1692. This law was formulated by the International Confederation of Wizards to protect the entire wizarding world from being discovered by muggles. Could it be? Kate exclaimed. Yes. That's the one that could be discovered. Dragons are too big, and raising dragons privately is also a risk, the risk of being discovered by muggles. Although the castles of wealthy wizards are still built in downtown areas and various protective spells are cast. If you have seen a map of the Muggle world, you will find that the map of the Muggle world is so small, that's because there are many areas that cannot be marked on the map and are discovered. Ryan concluded. Why does the Statute of Secrecy exist? Kate wondered. Do you know the most famous ghost in Gryffindor? Nick the Nearly Headless. Kate replied. Since the 15th century, the whole of Europe has begun to persecute wizards and witches. Many wizards and witches have been imprisoned and sentenced to death for engaging in witchcraft activities. Nick, like Nearly Headless, lost his wand and was unable to escape, and was eventually executed. Wizard families are particularly prone to losing their children, because young wizards cannot control their magic, often attracting the attention of muggles who hunt wizards, and are powerless to resist. Ryan said seriously. Even now that the Protection Act has been implemented for many years, Dumbledore's sister has been persecuted by muggles and is powerless to resist. Then it seems that the Protection Act is really necessary. Kate sighed. Ryan on the side thought to himself that the Protection Act has long been outdated and should be changed, and the Information Society is not far away. Chapter 46 Unreceived Letters. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Kate continued to read for a while, and since no dragons appeared, she went to the 4th floor to dance. Ryan spread his legs carelessly, put his elbows on his knees, crossed his hands, and rested his chin on them, and continued to think about the previous topic in the classic style of Bujinyan and Fengyan. The wizarding world actually went in the wrong direction. At that time, people were not enlightened, and wizards should have gone to the upper channels more often, like the fat monk of Hufflepuff, who almost sat on the position of Pope. Even Malfoy, who was famous for hating muggles, did better than most wizards. The wealthy and influential Malfoy family at that time strongly opposed the implementation of the protection law. Although the Malfoys believed that wizards were higher in status than muggles, members of the Malfoy family valued money and social influence more. With these, muggles are also noble. The poor muggles are different from the rich and powerful. They have always been associated with the noble muggle class in history. Both the royal family, William the Conqueror and Queen Elizabeth I, are obvious examples, and the nobility, which to some extent helped them to plunder a large number of muggle treasures and works of art. The protection law is more like a one-size-fits-all approach, without considering the differences between countries and the status of wizards. At that time, Malfoy could completely use his influence to integrate wizards and muggles. As long as he enlightened the people and controlled education, there would be no problem. Then, except for some wealthy and socially prominent wizards, other wizards stayed away from the downtown area. Wizards also began to live in small villages through confusion charms and formed their own small societies. Dingworth in Cornwall, Upper Flagley in Yorkshire, Ottery St. Catchpole in Devon, and Godric's Hollow in southwest England are all home to wizard families, which are some of the most famous semi-wizard settlements. But speaking of semi-wizard settlements, such as the village of Dingworth in Cornwall, Fleur and Bill's Shell Cottage is on the seashore outside the village. The most common magical creatures here are elves. For example, Lockhart once caught a group of them as teaching aids for the defense against the dark arts class. Although this creature can be solved with a spell, it still caused chaos in the class. In the history of wizards, in the 17th century, Divna Firmigi was kidnapped by a large group of elves while on vacation in Cornwall, resulting in her devotion to persuading the Ministry of Magic to humanely eliminate all elves for the rest of her life. This also made her famous and was recorded in the History of Magic. Ridiculous History of Magic. Thinking of the history of magic, Ryan couldn't help but be irritated for no reason again. This is the bad thing about wizards. Everything is engraved in their blood, including appearance, personality, and love and disgust for certain things. Some people say that if Harry was a woman, Snape's attitude would be completely different, but don't forget, Harry is exactly like his father, James Potter. Even if he is a woman, it is a gender-reversed version of James. Snape just wants to wash his eyes after seeing this, or just destroy Harry. Ron is a good choice for gender reversal, but Harry Potter is probably going to become a harem story. Harry's bad childhood may also be related to the fact that his father looks almost exactly like him. Harry's father has met the Vernons and left a very bad impression. In the eyes of his aunt, he is the murderer who killed his sister. The appearance of the little wizard can also be modified through blessings. For example, Voldemort's mother, although lacking self-confidence, is born with strong magical potential. In addition, before dying, she gave the child the last blessing. In the end, Voldemort looks the same as his Muggle father Tom Riddle. How can this unfilial son transform with magic and lose his mother's blessing? I'm off topic. Ryan stroked his forehead and was speechless for his wild ideas. But if I want to, I can invent a sex-changing potion or spell. Ryan took a sip of tea and stopped the last evil thought. Speaking of which, Ryan originally thought that he would encounter evil vampires who raised blood slaves in private under the guise of work on this journey. In the end, Ryan completed this journey with his bravery and Kate's screams, but it was completely different from the plan. In the second when Kate fought with the vampire yesterday, Ryan took the time to scan the entire castle and the vampire's bedroom, except for a few bloody lollipops, ink, and manuscripts and letters. There was nothing. Even the wizard who stole the dragon eggs and caused the dragons to fly did not appear. It was just an ordinary and normal journey. It can't be said that it was not fun, but Ryan was a little doubtful at this time whether he was the protagonist. Speaking of letters, Penelope's letter has not been received for 2 days. This has nothing to do with the fact that Kate and I don't have a corresponding address. Owls have a natural affinity for magic and can still find the recipient even when the address is not written on the letter. Those who do not wish to receive letters must use repelling spells, camouflage spells, or shielding spells to prevent the owl from finding them. According to Ryan's investigation, the owl's magical affinity comes from another great power, Athena, a long-dead wizard known as God. In addition, the owl's own appearance is very consistent with the aesthetics of wizards. Even though the protector is dead, this blessing continues to strengthen to this day. The opposite example is pigs, which have nothing to do with magic. Although in terms of genes, pig organs are the closest to humans, there is even a speculation that gene-edited organs can even be transplanted into humans. However, due to his poor appearance, he was rejected by magic. With the development of the wizarding community, the concept of magic has become like a living thing. Although he has no self-will, he also carries the general aesthetics of wizards. This chapter is not over yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading. This is why Ryan used pigs as experimental materials. Pig skin can even be used as dragon skin after a special magic ritual. As for why Sirius in the third part was not caught by the owl, it is because the owl's ability does not completely belong to itself and cannot be used for malicious purposes. If you rely on the owl to capture the prisoner, you will suddenly find that this talent will suddenly fail. Of course, sending a letter with a small curse or a shouting letter is possible. This is similar to the principle that normal house elves cannot harm wizards. Of course, since house elves themselves have magical abilities, they are not completely restricted by this. Just like Dobby's good-intentioned murder and the house elf army behind, the Smith family has a natural shielding spell similar to a curse. Although Ryan has mutated, the tower in the canyon not far from Smith Castle, which is specially used to receive owl letters, is still in operation, which has indirectly demonstrated that this ability still exists. This tower itself is an alchemical item built to make up for the inability to receive letters. Owls can find this place through the surname Smith. If Ryan's talent similar to the shielding spell disappeared, this tower should have been invalid long ago. In fact, Kate's stealth is very similar to the talent of a normal smith. As long as Kate concentrates on hiding herself, she will not be easily discovered by others. It is an active skill. The Smith family is naturally passive and cannot even receive letters. Even invisible things such as curses are difficult to reach the Smiths, and blessings are the same. However, Kate is by Ryan's side, and Ryan has even recently temporarily transferred the concept of his name from the tower to Kate. Just when he was touching his belly, the letter should have arrived long ago, which is really strange. Chapter 47, Journey in the Dragon's Belly. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ryan felt that he was a bit of a jerk now. He usually hated receiving letters because he felt that there were too many of them. But after just 2 days, he began to wonder if he was being trained by Penelope. Just like Percy in the original novel, he wrote letters every day during the summer vacation when they were originally in love, and even bought a special owl, not afraid of being exposed. But why is Kate not surprised at all? Isn't she on the best relationship with Penelope? At this time, Kate just finished her exercise and took a shower and came up from the 4th floor. Seeing Ryan's expression, she said something that surprised Ryan. "Ryan, are you wondering why Penelope hasn't written yet?" "You are." "No, you are thinking." Ryan, who was still in the mortal thinking, suddenly bit back. "Hee, just think of it as me. Did you forget that Penelope went on a family trip to France, and in the form of a muggle?" Kate stroked the short hair by her ear proudly. "Muggles? Can Penelope still travel with family in a magical way?" Ryan narrowed his eyes. "Ryan, you are so weird. Penelope should be in France today." Kate replied unnaturally. Although Ryan felt a little strange, he didn't feel any danger intuitively, so he didn't say anything more. However, the lunch that followed was the same as last night, with no changes, except that there was meatball sour soup, a kind of meatball made of beef and rice. Maybe they knew that I like rice, but beef and rice meatballs are weird in themselves, and the sour soup is made with lemon juice. I didn't hate it yesterday because the spices were rare and my taste buds encountered it for the first time, but it's not so good today. The afternoon passed by quickly, and Kate did exclaim several times, saying that she saw 2 shining golden horns, but when Ryan went to see, there was no dragon at all. "Ryan, look!" Kate suddenly jumped up. "What? Did you see a dragon again?" Ryan raised his eyebrows. I saw a black dot approaching this side in the already dim sky. Ryan, it must be a new means of transportation. Is it a dragon? Hey, Kate, don't you dislike dragons? Is this considered hunger marketing? Ryan complained, however, Kate guessed it right. It was a dragon, a Romanian longhorn dragon with 2 shiny golden horns and black and green scales, but when he got closer and took a closer look, it turned out to be just a flying machine similar to a dragon. Unlike the strict legal regulations in the UK, Romania not only allows the use of flying props in the shape of brooms, but also popular flying carpets, motorcycles, and flying machines with the same shape as Muggle planes. In that case, this dragon is not surprising, right? It's strange. Did the protection law go to shit? Ryan actually found that there was no spell similar to the night bus, and the Muggles could see this behemoth clearly. Accompanied by a strong wind, the dragon stopped behind the castle, with its mouth facing the 5th floor, and a thin and weak wizard walked out of it. Next came another long paragraph of GG words introducing the horror journey. After the thin wizard respectfully confirmed that we had packed our luggage, he motioned for us to enter the body of the aircraft. Ryan, so cool. Finally I saw a dragon. Although it's not real, I can still enter the dragon's body. Go. Kate was like a wild horse that had broken free from its reins. It was really interesting. Ryan doubted the intention of making the transportation tool like this. First, there were constant reminders on the road, and the introduction of the Romanian longhorn dragon and the service of watching it, and it was emphasized that it was free. The expectation value was raised to the maximum. Later, when the dragon was sulking because it could not be seen, a flying prop in the shape of a vivid Romanian longhorn dragon was suddenly used as a means of transportation. What is this, extreme pulling? So, the vampire Salvatore let us stay here for a day, not to escape, but also to raise the expectation value to the maximum. I have to say that it is really realistic. The entrance is the dragon's teeth and tongue, which are all made vividly. There is a kind of stickiness when walking on it, and it feels like walking on the dragon's saliva. It's very hellish. You can even feel the breathing of the dragon, that is, the flying prop, walking to the head, which is the junction of the throat and the head. There is a long dark pipe below. There is no sound inside. Kate's voice that should have come has also disappeared. The sound insulation is very good. The thin wizard also came over and bowed slightly to salute. Mr. Ryan, the cab is at the head, and the belly is where you and Miss Kate will rest. The time is probably tomorrow morning, and there will be music reminders at that time. The thin wizard took out his wand and knocked on the small tongue in his throat, and a channel opened from the top of the dragon's mouth. After watching the thin wizard disappear in the dragon's mouth, Ryan also jumped down. This is a very long slide. You can detect the magic from the flesh. The most obvious is the slide spell. The slide is flat. This spell can turn the stairs into a slide. This spell is also very old. It has been used at least in the Middle Ages. In the original world, during the final battle at Hogwarts, Hermione used this spell to help herself, Harry, and Ron slide down quickly and escape the pursuit of the Death Eaters. The neck of this flying dragon is not very long, nor does it have so many twists and turns. Logically, it should have reached its belly long ago, but Ryan kept sliding down for about a minute before the darkness in front of him slowly disappeared. Wow, this is a slide in the dragon's mouth. What comes into view is a flesh-colored floor that gives people a soft texture. This room is larger than the previous carriage, and the decoration is also very anti-human. The imitation blood vessels bulge on the wall, just like entering the body of a dragon. Ryan. Come here. Kate sat on a sofa similar to the top of a heart, with delicious food in front of her. There was a menu next to it, introducing the dishes on the table: red stewed dragon meat, white scalded dragon tendons, black pepper dragon steaks, curry dragon hind legs, eating dragon meat in the dragon's belly. The original soup is the original food. These dragon meats have been treated with magic to remove the poison. It is a specialty of the Romanian wizarding world. The price of dragon meat here is very cheap, cheaper than pork, but it is not taken away. All dragon materials are regulated in Romania and can only be purchased by local restaurants. This sofa, I thought it was the texture of a real heart. I almost didn't dare to sit down. Kate said while eating dragon meat stew noodles, I have to say that this sofa is the same as a normal sofa when you sit on it, and there is a one-way transparent window next to it to see the fleeting scenery. It has clearly taken off, but the interior is still as flat as a flat ground. Even the decoration is getting more and more pleasing to the eye, making Ryan wonder if his aesthetic taste has been raped. Just like when he was chasing Kamen Rider X8 in his previous life, it looked like garbage at first glance, but it was really delicious later. Dragon meat tastes like chicken. Chickens are originally degenerated from dinosaurs, so chickens are also dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are also dragons, so isn't this the same as eating chicken? But it is closer to turkey, and the taste is even rougher. No wonder dragon meat is not popular in other countries. Although dragon meat is regulated, if it is really delicious, how can it not be eaten in other places? Chapter 48 Patronus Spell. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a simple meal, Ryan lay on the sofa board and closed his eyes to rest. After dinner, it is really a pleasant thing to think about nothing. Ryan, what is the next stop? Kate asked curiously, throwing the comic book aside. The next stop is the zombie trail. Ryan reminded, and expressed his incomprehension. Kate, you are not very interested in horror tours, so you should know about it. Ah, what's fun there? Kate said speechlessly. Kate is not interested in the living dead, zombies, ghouls and the like except vampires. Zombies are too disgusting. Unlike vampires, they have gray skin and a rotten smell. It can be said that they are similar to the corpse. Kate's face was full of boredom. It is estimated that the previous doubts were just hoping that the next destination would not be here. Kate, don't you like Wakata very much? You know that zombies are from Africa. Ryan reminded. No. Zombies only exist in the southern part of America. Where is Africa? Did you remember it wrong? Kate rolled her eyes. I once read a travelogue about a traveler who always wore a turban. His turban was a gift from an African prince to thank him for helping him get rid of the zombies. Ryan explained. Damn Quirrell, no wonder the original book was hesitant when it came to how to defeat zombies. It must be made up. Damn, this is the first time I made a mistake, and in front of Kate. Ryan complained, but his face remained calm. Hee hee. Kate suddenly became happy for some reason. Well, let Teacher Kate introduce you to zombies. The place with the most zombies is Haiti, which is related to the wizards of voodoo. Like the basilisk, it is a magical creature created by wizards. He is used as a coolie in the local area. Any wizard can control him with language. It was even regarded as a trend at a certain time. The inferi is its enhanced version. Unlike the inferi, there is no need to murder, and it can only be made while it is hot. As long as it is a long-standing cemetery, it can be awakened through the unique local magic and serve the wizard again. Like vampires, they are afraid of sunlight and will be harmed by fire. The Patronus charm is also a good way to deal with it. Kate finally concluded. Ha! A short burst of laughter. Kate, you are wrong. Ryan smiled proudly. Summoning a Patronus itself is a very mana-consuming thing. Although I don't know about zombies, a blazing flame is definitely better than the Patronus charm. But isn't the Patronus cooler? Kate crossed her hands and turned her back. Kate, using the Patronus to deal with zombies is like using the killing curse to kill mosquitoes. Its main purpose is to drive away creatures such as Dementors and Voldemorts that ordinary magic cannot deal with, and it can also indirectly demonstrate the quality of a wizard. Ryan reminded. Yes, I know this. Unjust wizards cannot use this magic. For example, the dark wizard Rachidian backfired when he tried to use the Patronus charm, and maggots appeared to devour himself. This is also why wizards who can summon physical patron uses are often elected as high-ranking officials of the Wisengamot and the Ministry of Magic. Kate answered quickly. That's not true. It's actually a fallacy. Many people with negative personality traits, such as bad temper, arrogance, etc., can also summon mature patron uses. The character of a wizard is two-sided. Even the worst person will have soft and happy memories, or they will be happy simply because they do bad things. They don't think they are despicable and shameless. They are noble and noble wizards, so they can use it. Those wizards who summon maggots are better said to be killed by themselves. They can deeply realize that they are shameless, evil, and don't have enough happy memories. If there is a profound brain block, dark wizards can also use the Patronus charm. Ryan explained. What does this have to do with brain block? Kate actually knows this. As expected, she is a Ravenclaw. Harry and Ron, who are just muddled along, and Gryffindor who don't read extracurricular books all day, didn't know this magic in the 5th grade. After simply complaining in his heart, Ryan immediately explained, brain occlumency is a magical magic that can block unnecessary emotions and close one's own brain. Those self-destructive dark emotions, the wise wizards can abandon these, dig out their positive emotions, and release the Patronus. Just like Snape in the original book, the only Death Eater who can use the Patronus charm in the original book, but it should be more of love for Lily. But if Lucius Malfoy also knows this magic, maybe he can use it a little bit, without summoning maggots. No dark wizard dares to try, which is equivalent to suicide. Like Dolores Umbridge, she can conjure a cat-shaped Patronus. This pink toad can be elected as a senior official, and it is probably related to the Patronus charm. This spell is like a very valuable certificate, but it is understandable that most of the wizards who can use it are good wizards. Ah! How is it possible? Such a cool spell, how can bad guys use it? Kate said indignantly. I want to be like the invincible Andress, use it without a wand, and even summon giants. Ryan, you're not cool when you say that. Kate puffed up her cheeks. Kate, you have to listen to the key points. To meet the conditions I said, you either have to have advanced brain occlusion, or be a psychopath who can hypnotize yourself, or just be a bad person on the surface. I just said that this is too outrageous as a condition for selecting senior officials and the Wisengamot. Ryan held Kate's little hand and explained. Okay. Kate lay on Ryan's lap boredly and picked up the comic book next to her and started reading. Ryan also started reading it curiously. How should I put it? It's not as good as The Adventures of Mad Muggle Martin Miggs, which tells the story of a little wizard who dropped out of school and traveled around the world. Ryan doubted whether George and Fred had also read this picture book, otherwise why would they drop out of school so early, although there was also the reason for the Toad Umbridge mischief. Judging from George and Fred's behavior, it was probably premeditated. This picture book could even be written by Newt Scamander, commemorating his unsuccessful Hogwarts career and his exciting global travels, which made him a risky person and unwelcome by many ministries of magic. But what is very boring is that the author is an unknown person who does not appear in the original book. Oh, it's really boring. It would be nice if we could travel on the back of a dragon. Ryan complained, and read this somewhat boring story with Kate. Chapter 49 Classification of Spells. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The scenery outside the window flew by, and it was obvious that it was already late at night. I don't know if it was because of the dragon meat. Ryan and Kate were still very energetic. Aha, is this plot intentional by the author, or does he not understand? A strange plot made Ryan smile. Is there anything wrong? Kate rubbed her eyes without yawning. The wording is wrong. The horn curse should be hex, poison curse, or use the general term spell, not jinx, evil curse. Ryan reminded, isn't it just a difference in the name? They are all spells. I think they should all be called spell. Kate said indignantly. Kate, there is a reason for the difference in names. Ryan secretly agreed with Kate's point of view. After all, the classification of his panel is the same, but transfiguration spell, is separated out separately, although in his eyes they are all spells. However, if there is no plug-in, if you want to go further, you should still follow the practice of ordinary wizards. Kate, these names are different, and they also represent their risks and principles. If we only use the function, we can divide them into defense, offense, and treatment. But this is inaccurate. To be precise, there are 7 types of spells. Transfiguration changes the shape or appearance of the object, such as Avis flying birds. Charm changes the intrinsic properties of the object, causing abnormal physical changes to the object. This is why Professor Flitwick is called Charm Teacher, teaching spells instead of Spell Teacher. Ryan paused briefly. Now it happened that there were only Kate and Ryan around, and there were no magic props for monitoring under the Phoenix and magic vision, so it was much more comfortable to speak directly. Jinx, evil curse, directly understood as bad luck, mild black magic, causing inconvenience but more like a joke. You should know that the spells classified as defensive spells also include obstacles. This spell can slow down the action or phenomenon pointed by the wand. Hex, poison spell, directly understood as hex magic, keeps the person in a negative state, closer to black magic. Bat spell and horn spell are poison spells. Curse, black magic, directly understood as curse, it is used to refer to black magic. It will cause great harm to the person being cursed, such as unbearable pain, unconsciousness, and even death. I don't need to say which ones are. The remaining two are counterspell, to prevent another spell, and healing spell, to improve the condition of the person being cursed. Ryan slowly finished all the categories one by one. If I hadn't traveled through time, I wouldn't know these categories. In my previous life, I read the Chinese version. Only those who read the English version or even speak it as their native language knew these details. By the way, what does defense against the dark arts mainly involve? Ryan asked suddenly. Charm, jinx, and hex. Kate frowned and answered reluctantly. Bingo. Ravenclaw gets 10 points. Why is it classified like this? Ryan asked immediately. Fun. Kate frowned. That's because it allows young wizards to more intuitively understand the dangers of spells. Black magic and white magic alone are stupid things that only Gryffindor would say. What about Hufflepuff? Kate looked puzzled, apologized to Hufflepuff. You know, Mr. Ryan, before crossing over, I also chose Hufflepuff when playing mobile games. Ryan said after hesitating his voice and suppressing his anger. They dare to talk about gossip, but they generally don't have the courage to talk about magic knowledge they don't understand. Hannah, the badger who went around telling classmates in the 3rd grade that Sirius entered Hogwarts by transforming into an orchid, has something to say. However, Sirius did transform into Hogwarts, but it was not an orchid but a dog. Ryan stopped his thoughts and rubbed his temples. But maybe you will be involved in curse in the future. Dark magic. Ryan said with a bad taste. How is it possible? Kate looked unconvinced. When the fake Moody becomes the defense against the dark arts teacher. No. Well, you would have graduated by then. I'm too young, Kate. Percy is 4 years older than me, although I haven't gone to Hogwarts yet. Kate, I'm going to take a shower first. Ryan rolled his eyes, angry and embarrassed. It's easy to make mistakes if you keep thinking like a mortal. Although Ryan's mind is working all the time, guarding against all possible threats, but for the progress of his heart, he has to do it every day. The fun of playing, a small part of the mind still maintains the normal 3 views and thinking of the previous life. This also caused that in addition to fighting, defense, and casting, there would still be small mistakes that could be called intentional in verbal confrontations. Ryan pushed open the door on the left side of the sofa, and what came into view was a bathroom with a floor like black and green scales, giving people a metallic texture, and 2 big golden horns on the wash basin. Mirror, all of them are elements of Romanian longhorn dragons, without a complete dragon shape, but every place is filled with the feeling that you will associate with this kind of dragon when you see it. This kind of crazy decoration design can only be designed by wizards. Their designs and clothes are all like this because they are isolated from muggles. Even the clothes under Hogwarts did not look like suits at first, but maybe it is progress. Muggle elements have gradually invaded Hogwarts. This is why Ron wears sneakers and Fudge wears a dark green suit under his pinstripe robe. However, some older wizards still maintain a pure wizard style, which makes it difficult to distinguish between Muggle pajamas and men's and women's pants. There are even wizards who wear pleated skirts and South American cloaks. However, these are a minority. Muggle elements, games and styles are slowly invading the wizarding world, and the wizarding world is actually slowly progressing. The new generation of young wizards will also bring more creativity and vitality, just like, can you imagine, going to Hogwarts used to be a carriage or a door key. It was not until Ottolan Gamble, who took office as Minister of Magic in 1827, that he used the Ministry of Magic, 167 forgetfulness spells and the largest concealment spell in British history. The Hogwarts Express was obtained from the hands of a Muggle engineer in Crewe, Cheshire, England. It only took one night, and even the wizards in Hogsmeade at that time woke up the next day to marvel at the sudden appearance of the train station. This powerful Minister of Magic even said that if you don't take the train, don't think about going to Hogwarts, so that some stubborn purebloods who said unsafe, unhygienic, and detrimental disappeared and used it to go to school obediently. The only ones who were hurt were the Muggle engineers. In the following year, they all felt that they had put something important in the wrong place. I hope the Ministry of Magic gave money. In this way, Arthur Weasley's choice was far-sighted. He saw the potential of Muggles and bet on it, but it was more out of hobby. Chapter 50 Target. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Slowly and comfortably soaking in the bath, Ryan finally soaked in the water for the first time in a long time. Instead of the carriage and the shower in the castle, being a wizard is really great. If Ryan was a wizard in his previous life, he would definitely live in isolation. At most, he would just use the Wi-Fi, and everything else could be done with magic. It's great to be a smith. All of his ancestors were very crisis-conscious. As a result, Ryan can hardly find a place to spend money now. He can produce everything at home, so what else does he need like a bicycle? The negative example among wizards is people like Weasley. As a wizard, you are still poor, and many expenses are actually unnecessary. Poor wizards like the Weasleys are just too optimistic. Wizards don't actually need money, everything can be obtained and made through magic. However, this is also related to the fact that in the daily life magic market, only magic for removing stains and making delicious food is spread. The magic related to the production of clothes, planting and breeding magical creatures is very lacking, let alone the almighty alchemy. This course does not exist in the UK. In addition, the wizard's energy is also limited, so he cannot take care of all aspects and make clothes. Breeding. Just buy it from other wizards. Then, a monopoly was formed, and the gold galleons also gained value. As for using transfiguration to create clothes, it is a method that can only deceive muggles. Wizards who are skilled or familiar with transfiguration can see that. This is why Ron was worried about the ugly dress in 4th grade, but only used cutting. Remove the lace from the purple dress. Even Molly Weasley, a witch who is good at cooking and household magic, is lacking in clothing production, but she is surprisingly strong in combat, killing Bellatrix Lestrange one-on-one. This powerful Death Eater. Hogwarts should also set up a class for female workers. Herbology and magical creatures classes should not simply introduce magical animals and plants. How to use magic to conveniently plant and raise them is the most important thing. Magic should be able to do everything, so that galleons can be saved to buy other things, alchemy products, and the like. In short, other wizards do not have the same sense of urgency as Smith and cannot be completely self-sufficient. Wizards are so versatile. For example, the Daydream spell developed by the Weasley twins, and paired with props, as long as you recite this spell, you can enter a high-quality, ultra-realistic, 30-minute daydream. The side effects are only his expression was dull and he drooled slightly. Any kind of dream will do, let alone the indescribable. No wonder it is not sold to teenagers under the age of 16. This kind of technology is actually not very difficult. For the professors at Hogwarts, it's no wonder that almost all of them are single. If you have this skill, why do you need a partner? Especially Snape, who is good at occlumency. This simple skill is probably as easy as eating and drinking for him. He probably has been in the dream he created besides making potions and performing Dumbledore's tasks. Stay and fly with Lily. It's understandable why the self-imprisoned Grindelwald lives so simply. With a young version of Dumbledore accompanying him, he also needs a bicycle. Now Ryan can do it easily without any spells. After all, after looking at the magic painting in the Smith's bathroom for a long time as an adult, his consciousness can briefly enter the painting. there was once a house owner whose wife was jealous and wanted to destroy this painting. Unfortunately, due to the strong permanent sticking spell and unknown reasons, this only magic painting has remained until now. Occlumency is already the most advanced and difficult spell among the daydream spells. If Harry knew how to use this spell, he would definitely devote himself to learning, and probably would not be misled by Voldemort, causing Sirius to stay away. Passed away, this spell can even affect the effectiveness of Veritaserum and create false memories in the mind. Part of the special effects of Ryan's thinking skills are actually an enhanced version of occlumency. As long as you are a wizard with advanced spells, you will usually be involved in this spell. The most difficult thing about this spell is to control yourself. If Harry, who is 11 years old and has not yet entered the wizarding world, learns it, he will probably be able to get started soon, but after entering adolescence, it was undoubtedly too difficult for Harry, who was impulsive and irritable, had a liking for the opposite sex, and was unstable, to learn, to be cruel to oneself, to control unnecessary emotions, and to be under oppression. Draco Malfoy is very talented in this area. He is very good at locking his own sympathy to effectively bully others. Under the pressure of assassinating Dumbledore and Bella's cruel teachings, Draco was able to withstand Snape's legilimency and perfectly seal his heart. However, he almost collapsed many times. He was alone in Myrtle. I cried secretly in the bathroom. He is another talented young wizard. There are many young wizards in the original work. If you push him hard, study hard, and carry out combat training, he should become a great wizard. If they were united again, what would Voldemort mean? The reason why Voldemort was able to dominate the wizarding world was due to his horrific behavior and the distrust between wizards. Education at Hogwarts should have been reformed long ago, and the Ministry of Magic should not maintain so-called stability at the expense of weakening wizards. It was only after Ryan actually traveled through time that he understood why Fudge, a mediocre wizard with no skills in writing or martial arts, could become the Minister of Magic. Fudge's only strengths are that he is good at whitewashing the situation and listening to Dumbledore's opinions, and he repeatedly hinted that Dumbledore is behind him during the election. The sudden peace made the wizards need a minister who is good at whitewashing the situation, rather than a minister who always emphasizes that Voldemort is not dead and everyone should be vigilant. Fudge's Ministry of Magic hopes that all young wizards only understand theory, and the Ministry of Magic will handle everything else. Although the Ministry of Magic, under Fudge's leadership, does not do personnel work and only controls public opinion, this is why Fudge is so determined on the issue of Voldemort's comeback. Whitewashing the situation is the foundation of Fudge's career. In his view, Dumbledore's preparations for war are just for peaceful evolution and seizing power. Even if Voldemort is really resurrected, as a pure blood, he is not afraid that Voldemort will pursue him later. The return of Voldemort in the original book is a clear proof. Hogwarts can teach advanced magic without too much, but the combination of Aurors, wizard army, and police should also have a form of advanced learning. The existence of universities is very necessary. After wizards graduate at the age of 17, most of them become social animals. The previous excellent talents are only like certificates, and most of the others are useless. The 7 years at Hogwarts should train young wizards to be wizards who can survive comfortably without wizard society. The others should be further trained by the university. The wizards who leave the school will be more pure and will not be swayed by some economic games. For the first time, Ryan felt that he had found his goal. Becoming the principal of Hogwarts, or directly establishing a university, graduating at the age of 17, and never studying magic again, dreaming.